Welcome to the Deep Dive by 5W Media.
Great to be here.
Today, we're plunging into something really fascinating, I think. The spooky, ghostly tales of North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. North Carolina's got some good ones.
It really does. We've gathered a whole collection of accounts, stretching from the misty Blue Ridge Mountains all the way out to the windswept Outer Banks and the historic cities in between, too.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these stories just pop up in such different landscapes. You've got the mountains with one kind of feel, then the coast, completely different, and then the cities.
Yeah,
all sorts of spectral encounters.
exactly. And our mission today, it isn't just to, list off these stories. We want to really dig into them.
Get underneath them a bit.
Right. What is it about these specific tales, these places that keeps these legends going? We've got articles, personal stories people shared online, even stuff from paranormal investigators.
A real mix.
Yeah. So get ready as we take a deep dive into the spectral side of the Tar Heel State. Okay, so where should we start? Maybe the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Sounds good. The mountains. They always feel like keepers of old stories, don't they? And that's definitely true for ghost stories there.
Mm-hmm.
There was this publication, the Journal of Mountain Life, ran from 83 to 2001, I think.
Wow, quite a run.
Yeah, and it specifically tried to capture these generations of memories from the heart of the Blue Ridge. That's how they put it.
I like that.
It's like a direct line to how people actually experienced and, passed down these eerie kinds of encounters.
It really gives you that personal connection feel. And some of the titles they had. The Ghost of Mountain View, The Dancing Skeleton of Quarry Hill. Even Granny was a Ghostbuster. That one's great.
Right. They paint such a picture.
So what do those kinds of titles tell us, do you think?
Well, what jumps out at me is how the supernatural is just woven into everyday life.
Yeah.
These aren't like big, scary horror movie plots. They're tied to specific spots of view, a quarry hill, right? And even family members, like Granny. It suggests that for the people telling these, the spirit world wasn't totally separate. It was kind of right there with them.
Okay, so from those high, misty mountains, let's head east to the Outer Banks, the coast.
Big shift in scenery.
Totally. And even the names out there sound kind of spooky, don't they? Graveyard of the Atlantic, obviously, but also Kill Devil Hills.
Oh, yeah. Kill Devil Hills. That name alone, it sparks a lot of debate.
I bet. What's a story or stories?
Well, there are a few main theories. One connected to pirates, naturally, and some really strong rum that could supposedly kill the devil in you.
Okay.
Another one involves shipwrecked cargo, maybe again, strong liquor washing ashore. And then there's one, maybe a bit more colorful, about locals offering to, quote, kill the devil in any rum barrels passing through, Drink it.
Right. Helping out. So a place with a history of strong drink, maybe some shipwrecks, a little lawlessness.
Yeah.
Seems like fertile ground for legends.
Definitely. And speaking of spirits, let's talk about the Black Pelican restaurant in Kitty Hawk. That place has a pretty intense backstory.
Oh, yeah. What happened there?
So before it was a restaurant, way back, it was life-saving station number 6. And the story goes, back in 1884, the captain, James Hobbs, he shot and killed one of his surfmen, T.L. Daniels.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah, tragic.
Yeah.
And local lore says Daniels was buried at sea, but his spirit still hangs around the building. People report things.
You can almost feel that tension, that unresolved stuff, just thinking about it.
Exactly. It's chilling.
Then there's a different kind of story. More sad, I guess. The Seven Sisters of Nag's Head.
Ah, yeah. That one's quite poignant. It connects to the end of the Civil War.
Okay.
The story is about 7 sisters, formerly enslaved, who had just gained their freedom, but then tragically they disappeared during a huge storm.
Oh, no.
And the legend says, right where they vanished, 7 large sand dunes just appeared mysteriously.
Wow. That's quite an image, like a memorial made by nature.
It really is. A powerful reminder of loss and how history just marks the land itself.
Okay. Moving down the banks a bit to Manteo. Seems like both the Roanoke Island Inn and the Pioneer Theater have their own ghosts.
They do. At the Roanoke Island Inn, the stories seem to center on a former owner, Roscoe Jones. He was also the postmaster, apparently, and was really upset about being let go from that job.
Still holding a grudge from beyond the grave.
Seems like it. Guests have reported seeing a figure in a postal uniform and other weird things happening. It's funny how even something like losing your job can fuel a haunting,
Yeah, it's not always some grand tragedy. What about the theater?
The Pioneer Theater? That sounds a bit more mischievous. There's supposedly a spirit there that really doesn't like people using cell phones during the movie.
Seriously, what does it do?
Apparently, phones get knocked right out of people's hands.
Get out of here, a spectral usher enforcing the rules?
Pretty much.
Of course, you can't talk about Roanoke Island without bringing up the big one, the Lost Colony, and that legend of the White Doe.
Absolutely. Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas, but vanishing with the whole colony. It's one of our oldest mysteries.
Still give me chills.
And the legend that grew up around it about a witch doctor's spell turning her into a spectral white doe. It's hauntingly beautiful, in a way. People still claim to see her sometimes.
And there's even an inn named after her, right? The White Doe Inn.
Yep, in Manteo. Shows you how deep that story runs in the local identity, why that version of what happened. Totally old.
It's fascinating.
Definitely. Now, what about those landmarks of the Outer Banks? The lighthouses, surely they've got some stories.
Oh, for sure. Lighthouses are prime ghost story real estate, aren't they? The isolation, the storms, the shipwrecks they've seen.
Makes sense.
At Body Island Lighthouse in the Keeper's Cottage, there's supposedly this persistent knocking sound every day, right at 4 p.m.
Weirdly specific.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Then there's the gray ghost, this misty figure people say is supposedly warning that bad weather's coming.
A helpful ghost. Maybe. And maybe the cutest one. The ghost cat at Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. Apparently it's friendly, lets you pet it for a second, then just vanishes.
Ah, a ghost cat. I like that one. It feels like each lighthouse has its own personality, its own spectral history almost.
Exactly. It adds another layer to these iconic places.
Okay, so we've dipped into the mountains and the coast. Let's broaden out a bit. There's a collection called North Carolina Ghost Stories, Legends, Folklore. What's that one about?
Yeah, that collection tries to cover the whole state, mountains, Piedmont, coast. And what's interesting is how it frames it. It basically says, look, we don't know if every single story is true, but they all have something to tell us.
Like about the people, the culture.
Exactly. It's as much about cultural history, what people believed, what they feared, as it is about potential hauntings.
Right. And the titles they list, pretty intriguing across the board.
They really are. For the mountains, you get classics like The Pink Lady, the Grove Park Inn. That's a famous one.
Heard of her?
The Legend of Blowing Rock, which ties into the landscape itself. And those mysterious Brown Mountain Lights. Always fascinating.
And the Piedmont, central part of the state.
There you've got the really weird Devil's Tramping Ground, that bare patch of earth, the classic Lydia, the Phantom Hitchhiker story, and even the ghost in the governor's mansion.
See, even the governor's mansion isn't safe.
Apparently not. And then down on the coast again, you see some familiar names. Blackbeard's ghost, obviously. The Gray Man of Hatteras, warning about storms again. The Maco Light. And there she is again, Virginia Dare, the White Doe.
Wow. So Virginia Dare pops up in multiple sources.
Yeah, it really shows how powerful certain figures and archetypes are in ghost lore, doesn't it? They just keep reappearing.
It really does. Okay, so that gives us a good sense of the traditional stories. Let's shift gears a bit and look at how people approach this stuff today, like modern ghost hunting. Tell us about the Ghost Guild.
Okay, the Ghost Guild. They're interesting because they're a nonprofit, first off, and they conduct what they call science-based investigations into paranormal reports, usually at historically significant places in North Carolina.
Science-based ghost hunting, how does that work? Sounds a bit like an oxymoron.
Huh. Yeah, it can sound like it. But their approach is really focused on data. They use a lot of sensors, data loggers. Basically, they try to meticulously document environmental variables, temperature shifts, electromagnetic fields, sound recordings, that sort of thing.
Trying to find natural explanations first.
Exactly. Their goal is to see if there's anything measurable that could explain what people are experiencing. And they specifically say they don't use devices they consider unproven for paranormal research, like some of the things you see on TV sometimes.
Okay, so more about measurement, less about, like, Ouija boards.
Right. And they also connect it to historic preservation. They see their work as helping to understand and maybe even protect these old sites.
That's a cool angle. What kinds of places do they investigate?
All sorts, really. Old plantations, historic jails, theaters, and, interestingly, Logan's Garden Shop was mentioned.
A garden shop? Okay, that's unexpected.
Right. Guess history can hide anywhere.
And I heard they actually let the public get involved sometimes.
They do. That's another cool part. They offer opportunities for people to join them on investigations at places like Mordecai Historic Park in Raleigh, or aboard the USS North Carolina battleship, and even in the town of Murfreesboro.
So you could actually go on a ghost hunt with them. A sciencey one.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a way to make it less mysterious, I think, and let people see the process firsthand.
That's neat. And how do they handle their findings? Do they say, yep, definitely a ghost?
No, that's key. They emphasize sharing the data they collect and letting people draw their own conclusions. They're careful not to label things as definitive proof of ghosts. It's more about presenting the information and fostering discussion.
I like that approach. Grounded. Okay, let's zoom back in now to a specific city known for its history and its haunts. Charlotte.
Ah, Charlotte. Yeah, with its deep roots, it's definitely got its share of spooky stories. The source we looked at highlighted 10 top haunted spots. It suggests there's this whole other shadowy layer to the city.
Okay, let's hit some highlights. Founders Hall. That's tied to medical students, right? And maybe some grave robbing.
That's the legend. Back in the day, med students apparently needed cadavers for study and weren't too picky about where they got them.
Yikes.
So the story goes, the spirit of a woman named Louise, possibly one of their unwilling subjects, haunts the place. People report seeing her wandering, crying. Classic creepy stuff.
Definitely taps into some primal fears there. What about Old Settler Cemetery? The name alone suggests possibilities.
Oh, it's one of Charlotte's oldest cemeteries, so tons of history. And the main spirit people talk about there is Devil Charlie Polk.
Devil Charlie. How'd he get that name?
Apparently through some violent act in his past, people report hearing unsettling laughter near his grave, feeling a sense of menace. Not a friendly ghost.
Doesn't sound like it. Okay, there's also a weird story about a bootlegger house that got moved. And the ghosts came with it.
Yeah, this house was originally in a neighborhood called Little Brooklyn, used for secret bootlegging back in the 20s. When they moved the whole house in the 1970s, weird stuff started happening in the new location.
Like what?
Unexplained wet footprints appearing inside. Objects moving on their own. It's like the house itself soaked up the energy of its past.
Wow. The building itself is haunted. Now, the Duke Mansion sounds more romantic, though still tragic, I guess.
It is. It centers on a guy named John Avery back in the late 1920s. He fell for a renter named Maggie, but he was married, couldn't leave his sick wife.
Ah, classic dilemma.
They made this pact to meet again 1 year later, no matter what. Well, he died just before the year was up. But Maggie supposedly saw his ghost right there at the window on the night they'd agreed to meet.
Whoa! Keeping his promise from the other side, that's quite a story.
Isn't it? Love beyond the grave?
Okay, switching gears again. Charlotte Fire Department, Station 4. That has a sadder history, doesn't it?
Yeah, really tragic. Back in 1934, 2 firefighters died in separate accidents, just 1 week apart.
Oh, terrible.
One of them, Pruitt Black, fell through the opening for the fire pole. His spirit is said to still be at the old station. People see a figure in old-timey firefighter gear, sometimes even smell cigar smoke, which he apparently liked.
Wow. You can almost feel the echo of that tragedy. Now, the Tryon House Apartments, that story sounds genuinely disturbing.
It really is. There was a terrible fire there in 1940, apparently due to bad safety measures, and 6 people died. Ever since, residents have reported hearing sad noises, banging.
Okay.
But the most unsettling part, one former resident claimed her apartment walls looked like they were bleeding.
Oh, come on. Bleeding walls, that's horror movie level.
Right. Truly visceral and terrifying.
Definitely. Okay, maybe something slightly less intense. The McGlawn Theater. It used to be a church.
Yeah, for over 70 years, it was the First Baptist Church. Now it's a theater, but some people think it still holds some of that spiritual energy.
Makes sense. What do they report?
Things like hearing old hymns being sung by a child's voice when the theater's empty. A former security guard talked about objects moving, hearing weird laughter, like echoes of its past.
The Dunhill Hotel. That's a pretty swanky historic place, right? But haunted, too. Linked to a grim discovery.
Yeah, built just before the Depression, saw some hard times, including suicides. Then, during renovations in the late 80s, they found skeletal remains inside the building. An elderly man. They nicknamed him Dusty.
Dusty.
And now Dusty's blamed for all sorts of weird happenings, especially in one room, 906. Moving things, unsettling guests, a permanent unseen resident, maybe.
Creepy. Okay, Rira Irish Pub. That sounds a bit lighter.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's an authentic Irish pub, parts brought over from Ireland, the haunting seems different. Staff hear sewing machines running in the basement when no one's down there.
Sewing machines. Okay, random.
And there's supposedly a little ghost girl who draws with chalk on a brick wall sometimes.
Ah, like a little spectral artist. That's almost charming.
Almost. And finally, Kennedy's Premium Bar and Grill. Sounds like this one's pretty active. Apparently so. It's in an old farmhouse, lots of history, and the list of reported stuff is long. Doors opening and closing by themselves, Radios turning on and off, shadowy figures.
A full menu.
Pretty much. Paranormal investigators have even claimed to capture EVPs, electronic voice phenomena there. So it's got a reputation as one of Charlotte's, maybe even North Carolina's most haunted spots.
Wow. So Charlotte's definitely packed with ghosts. Okay, let's broaden out one last time and tap into something more informal. There was a Reddit thread asking North Carolinians about their favorite local cryptid or ghost story. It came up there.
Oh, that was fascinating. It's like the grassroots level of folklore, you know?
Yeah.
Right off the bat, people mentioned the Beast of Bladenboro.
The vampire beast thing.
Yeah, that one. And the Victor R. Small House also came up a lot. Seems like those are really well-known kind of modern legends.
Gotcha. What else? Did the Devil's Tramping Ground make an appearance?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And people shared all sorts of experiences. Some were just like, yeah, I got eaten alive by chiggers.
The real horror.
But others mentioned more unsettling things like finding weirdly killed deer nearby. And sadly, there was also talk about how much people litter there, which kind of ruins the vibe.
Yeah, that's a shame. What about really dark history? Did the Lawson family murders come up?
It did. That's a truly horrific event from 1929, the whole family murdered. It clearly still haunts the collective memory in Stokes County and beyond. There's even a mini museum about it. The story just lingers.
Understandable. Did people talk about the Brown Mountain Lights?
Lots of talk about the lights. Many users share their own stories of seeing them, these weird, unexplained lights over the mountains. No one really knows what they are, which is part of the appeal, I guess.
The mystery keeps it alive. How about the Maco Light, Joe Baldwin's lantern?
Yep, Maco Light got plenty of mentions. There was some debate, actually. Some people think you can't see it anymore because the train tracks are gone. But others swore they, or their parents or grandparents, had seen it. Shows how legends persist, huh?
Yeah, even when the landscape changes. Did any really old folklore come up, like Native American legends?
A bit. People mentioned the Moon-Eyed People and Judicilla Rock, which tie into those deeper layers of history and belief in the region.
Cool. And the coastal classics. Blackbeard, the Gray Man.
Absolutely. Can't have NC Ghosts without Blackbeard around Ocracoke or the Gray Man warning about storms off Hatteras. They're iconic.
And Lydia, the hitchhiker.
Lydia, near Jamestown. Tons of people remembered hearing that story growing up. It's like a shared spooky memory for a lot of North Carolinians.
It really is.
And the thread touched on so many others, too. East Hall at App State, weird roads like Payne Road, the Pactolus Light. Just shows how many of these local stories are out there.
It really paints this amazing picture of a state just buzzing with these tales, doesn't it? So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Mountains, coast, cities, old legends, modern hunts, personal stories. As we kind of wrap up, what are the common threads you see running through all of this?
Well, a few things really stand out. Tragic death is a big one, right? Especially sudden, violent, or unresolved deaths. They seem to anchor a lot of these stories.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Historical events, too, particularly ones involving conflict or big losses, like the Civil War or shipwrecks, they leave a mark. And memorable local characters, people whose lives or deaths were notable, often become the focus of legends.
Like Devil Charlie or Roscoe Jones.
Exactly. And then there's just the unexplained stuff. Weird lights, noises, feelings. That basic human experience of encountering something you just can't figure out.
It's also interesting how certain types of places keep coming up. Lighthouses, old inns, cemeteries, battle sites. Why those places, do you think?
I think it's often about the intensity of human experience associated with them. Lighthouses witness tragedies at sea. Inns see generations pass through, with all their joys and sorrows. Battle sites hold the memory of intense violence and loss. It's like strong emotions or events leave some kind of residue, maybe, at least in our stories.
A psychic imprint, almost. It really makes you wonder why we're so drawn to these stories in the first place. What is it about ghosts and hauntings that fascinates us so much?
That's the big question, isn't it? Maybe it's partly just curiosity about the unknown, about what happens after death. Maybe it's a way to process fear or grief. And, storytelling itself is just so powerful. It connects us to the past, to a place, to each other, even if the stories are spooky.
Yeah, preserving memory, even spectral memory. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the ghostly tales of North Carolina.
It's been fascinating, really, from the mountains to the coast. Centuries of stories.
It really has. We've explored old legends, modern investigations, and everything in between.
A state definitely rich in spectral lore.
If you like what you are hearing from us, please subscribe. Also, if you would like and share this video, it helps us tremendously. It means so much to us. Please also leave a comment. We want to know what you think and value ideas you might have for future podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.